Happy Friday, the 13th of June. Welcome inside the vault for a Ravens Lunch Hour live stream. I'm Bobby Trossett. My co-host and partner, Sarah Ellison, will be back with us on Monday after her vacation. Obviously, she and her daughter, London, I haven't heard from her much, which is good because I'm glad that she can kind of pull away a little bit. But it seems by all accounts that they have been having an absolute blast. And obviously that makes me, and I'm sure a lot of you, happy out there because it is a deserved time off for sure. And I look forward to getting back with her coming up next week. And mandatory minicamp will start to take place on the 17th. That's Tuesday. It'll be a 3-day mandatory minicamp for the team. OTAs are no longer. And being that they're in the rear view, coming up in just a few minutes, I'll go through some of my takeaways from the last couple of weeks of voluntary organized team activities. But first, do the Ravens have a little secret weapon? It's waiting in the wings when it comes to return specializing and maybe, just maybe, cracking into the wide receiver rotation. I'm going to ask myself that. I'm going to ask you that in just a bit. The gift-giving run is already on. Tila begins the day with 5 channel Voltrons. We began the day at 7:31, so that now puts us at 7:36. Thank you, Tila, for getting the party started, and a happy Friday to everybody. In about 30 minutes from right now, Francis John Trossett, my father, in honor of Father's Day, will drop in, and it's going to be an in-person visit. So get your questions, get your super chats, get your gifts, however you're feeling, ready for him, because I know he's coming in here with vengeance. So I look forward to having him literally right to my left. Before all of that, this episode is brought to you by my friends at Baltimore County Golf, and we will announce a winner during this stream of our Father's Day contest giveaway. I've been working with Baltimore County Golf for the last week or so. Sarah and I will continue to do so throughout the course of this month. And courtesy of their efforts, we have a $350 gift card to divvy out in credit that can be used towards the Fox Hollow Training Center for a club or clubs. And on top of that, they're going to give you a 30-minute fitted session as well. So look forward to that. I'll tell you more about them in just a bit. So thanks to Tila for getting our gifts train started. Michelle Spate and Gwen Muse have just become new channel members. So we are chilling right now. I believe that was actually yesterday that Gwen and Michelle did become channel members. So that puts us again at 736, perhaps 800 could be in the cards. First and foremost, let's talk about Lejante Wester. Could he be sort of a secret weapon waiting in the wings for the Ravens? With the 203rd overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft this past April, that was the 6th round, the Ravens selected wide receiver and return specialist Lejante Wester out of Colorado. Those of you who have been studying up on him know that he went to Florida Atlantic, where he spent his first several seasons, had a productive career there, so much so the guy lit it up. I mean, from a special teams perspective, and on offense. And while I don't think we'll see much of him on offense in year one, it wouldn't surprise me if he starts to develop into sort of a gadget guy under Todd Monken. But what I mean by this best kept secret off the top is something that I think he can be an immediate impact guy on right away. And that's the void that needs to be filled at returner. Return specialist was something last year from a special teams perspective that the Ravens were very, very unsettled on. And the amount of players that occupied that role throughout last year, I have the list in front of me. Get a load of this. It wasn't just Deontay Hardy, who played just 5 games. He was then put on injured reserve. It wasn't just Tylan Wallace, who obviously had a good go of it before some of that muffing that he started to, from a bad habit standpoint, started to put on tape, and the Ravens just couldn't move forward with him. It wasn't just Desmond King, who was brought in season. It wasn't just Steven Sims, who was brought in down the stretch from Houston. It wasn't just the undrafted rookie, Chris Collier, or John Kelly, or Justice Hill, or Keaton Mitchell, or Rasheen. That's the whole list. There were 9 different players who got involved in the return specializing game for the Ravens last year. And so, to put it mildly, that was an area that was in flux last year. And clearly, based on Eric DeCosta's comments, John Harbaugh's comments, they understand that they got to get that shored up. When you look at punt returns, statistically speaking, from 2024, the Ravens were middle of the pack in the NFL. 9.7 on average is what they, in terms of yards, that's what they averaged on punt returns. They had 22 total last year. I'm looking at these numbers, Kurt, right now. 213 yards came along with it. Just 2 returns of 20 plus, 0 of 40 plus, and the long was 22. So that's not exactly going to cut it for a group that prides itself on special teams excellence. But back to Lejante Wester. The guy lit it up at Florida Atlantic, and he then went to spend 1 year with Coach Prime in Boulder. He was an honorable mention in the All Big 12 Conference. He played in 13 games with 12 starts, 10 touchdowns. He caught a pass in each of his last 50 appearances, which was pretty exceptional. And his Lance Zierlein overview in his draft profile reads as follows. He's an undersized slot target, and he is undersized, by the way. 5'10", $163. I believe he got up to 170 for his pro day. 29 3/4 inch arm, 8 5/8 inch hand. He ran a 4.46 in the 40. He's got some speed to him, got some shiftiness. The agility, one of his calling cards. 10-yard split was 1.53 seconds, a 32-inch vertical jump, and a 10-foot 1-inch broad jump. But back to Lance Zierlein's write-up. I'm going to kind of tie all this in together. So an undersized slot target with good speed and above-average production. Wester is built for longer routes with softer angles, allowing him to build separation. He's less effective with wiggle routes underneath. There are times his catch focus stands out, but he has a very limited catch radius, and drops were a major concern in 2023 at FAU. Colorado's scheme and surrounding talent created some easier looks for Wester, but his big play potential from the slot and as a punt returner should give him a chance to make a roster, and I think he's a lock to make the Ravens roster, barring something unforeseen, Tila. Now, why do I think he's going to make this roster? I would think at this point early in the process, mandatory minicamp still to come, training camp still to come, an entire summer worth of activities still to come. So far, rave reviews in some of his special teams work. And that was certainly evident in the latest version and episode of Ravens Wired, when this snippet of he and John Harbaugh took to social media. And I appreciated this from a couple different angles. One, Lejante seems like this dude is a well-studied player who's hungry to learn, a receptive learner. And for Harbs, we know that the last couple of years, I'm sure to his liking, has not been nearly good enough from a special team standpoint. Here's Lejante working on technique, and here's Harbaugh in his element as a former special teams guru himself.
Calculating the spot on the field where you think it's going to come down, right? The field's like a grid, you know what I'm saying? You ever see a graph paper?
Yes, sir.
That's what the field is in your mind. So when you see that ball hit the top, you should be in your mind, it's here, it's wherever.
Yes, sir.
And you want to beat the ball to the spot.
Yes, sir.
Okay, are you right-handed or left-handed?
Right-handed.
Okay, I want you to hold this in your left hand. Okay, I want you to catch it with one hand now.
Yes, sir.
Okay? You should be able to catch the ball. You're going to get to the point where you can catch it with one hand, nice and it forces you to square up the ball,
Yes, sir.
and it keeps your elbow nice and tight. Nice, well done. Getting a feel for it now, right? That's what great athletes do. They figure it out. Let's try the other arm. Good. Oh, well done. Okay, let's go with no balls on this one. All right, so now what I want you to do, when you see that ball go up, I want you to run to the spot. Like, say I think the ball's going to go 5 yards over there on the line. That's where I think it's going to go. I want you to run to that spot where you think it's going to go. Pivot, square it up and catch it. Okay, not bad. Not bad. You're probably within a yard, right? So now you chase perfection, right? The goal is to like not even move. That's the ultimate. Okay, got the idea. Good. You guys good? We'll get a couple more off the jugs. You're good, Lejante. You can head over if you want. Good drill, isn't it? Huh?
Great drill.
Yeah.
Good drill, and I think he passed with flying colors. I mean, it's just a minute 30 there clip, courtesy of Ravens Productions. And again, that you probably watched Ravens Wired earlier this week, and maybe you already saw that. But I just think it shows good hand-eye coordination. It shows good concentration, and I think it shows Harbaugh in a light where you don't get to see that side of him often, right? The inner workings at this point in the process, they're going to be a little bit more forthright with video and production elements and whatnot in terms of the behind the scenes elements that goes into technique and the detail oriented approach that you have to take with something as specialized as return specialist is. Some notes here from Clifton Brown and BaltimoreRavens.com, okay, in terms of his offseason to date. Wester can fly, and he showed that hauling in a long touchdown pass. He juggled it at first, but held on for the score. The 6th-round pick also made a tough grab over the middle, despite the pass being tipped by undrafted linebacker Jay Higgins. Lamar came out sharp during the first week of OTAs. This is now obviously a couple weeks removed. But since we're talking about Lejante and his collective body of work this offseason, I think it warrants repeat. Lamar delivered a beautiful long pass to Lejante Wester, dropped one in a bucket to Dayton Wade despite double coverage down the sideline, and had a pinpoint long pass to Zay Flowers. So the second paragraph here, mostly about Lamar and just how in season form he's coming across. But 83 is who we're talking about right now. And somebody that I think, I should say an element that he can bring to this team right away while he kind of gets his feet under him, thank you very much, is that element of speed. And while this leaderboard that tracked the fastest OTA speed that DeAndre Hopkins shared with everyone a couple weeks back because of where he fell, which was a fraction north of where Lejante Wester fell, speaks to some of that explosiveness. 19.9. 19.9 miles an hour on this day, which is the 28th of May, going back a couple weeks, is what Lejante Wester was clocked at. And that was 4th behind Marquise Robinson, Devontae Walker, and DeAndre Hopkins, who's still showing that he's got a little bit left in the tank at this point, very early on again in the program. So a 4.46 40 is what he's bringing. A ton of college productivity. Clearly, the guy gets it from an intellectual standpoint. And I think Todd McShay is on to what we're discussing here today in terms of the best kept secret that he could very well be. And if he's waiting in the wings and he finds his way and earns his way onto this 53-man roster and shows that he can compete, that he can give you a boost and a spark at return specialist. In the coming years, perhaps he could start to be a gadget guy and take some off of Zay Flowers' plate. Then why not? Why not Lejante Wester being viewed years down the line as a day 3 steal? Just listen to Todd McShay, who certainly sang his praises weeks back.
Round pick, 203 overall, coming out of Colorado. He was drafted by the Ravens. Tiny guy, man. 5'10", 163 pounds. But he ran a 4.46, and he's quicker than he is fast. Listen to they had other guys, right? Jimmy Horn Jr. ran fast. They got bigger guys. They've got faster guys, all that. It was always Wester, though, if you noticed. Obviously Travis Hunter, but it was always Wester, like getting the tough yards, like in a pinch. If they were double teaming or rolling coverage to Travis Hunter, he showed up. And he's been doing it for a while, just nobody knew about it. He was at FAU, Florida Atlantic, for 4 seasons. Okay. The final season at FAU, he was second in the FBS with 108 catches. Nobody knew about it. If a tree falls in the woods, like nobody knows. But Colorado knew. Called him up, bring him in, come on, fly into Boulder. 13 games. He played all 13 games. 74 catches, 931 yards, almost 13 yards per catch, 10 touchdowns. Okay. He's a tough little nugget, man. Wester's a tough little nugget. I'm telling you, this guy's he's going to get in there with the Ravens receiver room, and he's going to look around. They're going to be taller than him, and they're going to be thicker and stronger than him. And Wester's going to look around and be like, hey, I can play on this team. I'm a 6th-round pick. I'm 163 pounds. I can fucking play on this team. I'm telling you, he can. He's going to get his shot. You got Zay Flowers, you got Rashad Bateman, and you got DeAndre Hopkins, who's on his last leg. Like very last, okay? Those are the 3 starters. Last year, Nelson Aguilar was the 3rd leading receiver, okay? In terms of receptions by receivers for the Ravens. He's gone. The 4th leading receiver in terms of receptions of the wide receiver, that room he's walking into with a bunch of bigger, older, stronger guys, whatever. The 4th leading receptions guy of the wide receiver group was Tylan Wallace, who's back. But he had 10 catches last year. There's a spot for Wester. He's one of those guys that, yeah.
Sorry for the language there. Todd McShay, as you could hear and tell, is fired up about the potential that Lejante Wester has given what's in front of him. Now, just to be clear, because I see some of you in the chat saying he's not seeing the field. I don't necessarily think he's going to see much of the field from an offensive snap count standpoint. I'm talking about solely as a special teamer and as a return specialist, because the door is open. And that's what I mean by this whole best kept secret. Eric DeCosta is high on this player.
Wester, is another guy. So we talked to Chris Horton and said, Chris, rank these guys. Who are the best returners? Mm-hmm. And he came back with Wester as being one of the very best. And so we watched his returns, impressive. Watched him as a receiver, looked at his production, very impressive. Mm-hmm. And I think it's when you see a guy, and I call this the Addison phenomenon. Like Jordan Addison had been at Pitt as a receiver and had like great production, like basically like I don't know how many catches, but 80 catches a year at Pitt. Right? Mm-hmm. It goes to USC. It's hard to go to a new school, right? Think about when we were freshmen in high school. Think about when we were freshmen in college, right? There's an acclimation. It's hard. Mm-hmm. He goes to USC first year and has an amazing season at USC. So when I look at Wester, I see the same kind of thing.
Right.
I see a first-year player at Colorado who goes there and has a great season. He's a talented receiver, excellent return man. I'm excited about him. We've had great success with South Florida players, and very excited about him.
I'm sure they'll continue to as well. There is something about that South Floridian background that the Ravens just take. And I don't know if it's a part of their thinking directly or indirectly, but it's worked out, particularly in this Lamar era, 7 years in and counting. Look, it's a crowded wide receiver room. Todd McShay was referring to Tylan Wallace as a top 4 pass catcher for them last year. He was strictly speaking to the position that is wide receiver and not pass catcher. Because what I'm looking at right now actually has your top 4 in terms of pass catchers from a receiving yard standpoint. Of course, Zay led the way with his first 1,000 yards season, 1,059 to be exact. Goes on to the Pro Bowl, first time in Ravens history that a homegrown wide receiver earns those 2 nods. Rashad Bateman, of course, 756, your top ranked, or I should say your second ranked pass catcher, 9 touchdowns, was second to Mark Andrews in that category. Mark was third on this list at 673, and Isaiah Likely comes in at 477. So again, that's your top 4 in terms of receiving yards pass catchers. by the way, if you want your top 5, Justice Hill snuck his way in there at 383. Justice Hill beat out by over 100 yards, by the way, Nelson Aguilar, who was really your wide receiver 3 on paper the last couple years. Nelson finished with 29 targets, 14 receptions, 231 receiving yards. That's what DeAndre Hopkins is attempting to replace productivity-wise. And I think he does that in his sleep should he stay healthy. Where Lejante fits in is not within that top 5. I don't even think he's going to be pushing those players, those guys this season. Where Lejante's role is immediately served. And what he serves is that void that needs to be filled as a special teamer. Now, from a measurable standpoint, again, this is a guy who is not going to overwhelm you with his physical gifts. 5'10", $163. He's not going to run you over. Much like Marquise Brown was able to do, he can take the top off of a defense. He's going to beat you laterally with his agility and that 4.46 speed. He's going to beat you straight line, but he's not going to overwhelm you with the physical attributes and the skill set, right, that Zay Flowers, for example, has shown over his first couple years in the NFL. There's a difference between Marquise and Zay's game, even though they have similar measurables when it comes to, their combine or whatever. So I'm excited. Do I think that Lejante could win the job right out of camp? I wouldn't rule that out. But certainly there's going to be other players that will provide competition. Keaton Mitchell just shared during his media session last week that he wants to be known and involved as a primary returner. He wants to get involved. Would they use Justice Hill? Hopefully not. Justice is so much more valuable in other areas. I think about what he does for you in the screen game, the way he picks up blitzes, the way that he can be a reliable third down back. He's a great player. He's an all-around player, and he's obviously been a gunner in the past. He's been a special teams ace for them. He's done everything asked of him. So really, the 3 candidates, I suppose, would be Tylen, Keaton, and Lejante. I would think a combination of those 3 would be how that summer competition plays out. Here is Lejante in action, by the way. This was earlier on. Coach Brown _MDN is the courtesy from Instagram. But there he is down in Florida getting his work in. And you see the quick cut ability that he brings to the table. You see some of that explosiveness, that straight line speed, way he gets off his brakes. Bang, just like that. That's what excites you about a guy in the return game. Somebody that can create for himself. Somebody that wants to be great. That's the sense. Don't you get that sense? He wants to be great. Now, that'll only get you so far. But Lejante Wester, folks, perhaps the best kept secret in Baltimore in terms of what they need and what they may ask of Lejante Wester in year 1. Definitely a player to watch coming up in next week's mandatory minicamp. And, of course, training camp, which is, about a month and a half away or so in Baltimore. Glad you guys could be with me today. This episode is brought to you by my friends at Baltimore County Golf, and we have a winner to announce for our Father's Day special. The contest, the giveaway that we've been doing over the last few days, and I will let you know who won that because I have an email with the winner in just a second. But first, today's live stream is brought to you by Baltimore County Golf, and they operate 5 public golf courses in Baltimore County. That's Greystone, The Woodlands, Diamond Ridge, Fox Hollow, and Rocky Point. I think Greystone would probably be my favorite if you had my back up against the wall, but you can't go wrong with any of them. And I want to bring up the site too, so that you can click on the link that's included in the show notes and go check it out. If you want to get a Father's Day round in, maybe you want to consider signing up for their Advantage card, which gives you plenty of perks and incentives, which I'll tell you about in just a second. And look at this little drone footage they got going on. Love it. Being that it's US Open week, I feel like I have the itch. Maybe you guys do, or maybe you don't, but I have the itch right now to play. So much so, I'm got a Twilight Tee Time, $350 today, upstate New York. Play more and pay less with Baltimore County Golf. You can grab a 3-pack of lessons from a Baltimore County Golf teaching professional near you and start playing more today. The Fox Hollow Training Center offers special clinics all summer long that introduce you to the game of golf and get you comfortable on the golf course. That Advantage card that I was just talking about, $40. This is what's going to get you. $40. Greens fee and golf shop discounts, 16-day advanced tee time reservations, $20 in coupons, access to Twilight Times 1 hour earlier than the general public. All the daylight that we got right now, there's nothing better than a Friday Twilight round. That's what I'm doing today with the boys from home. A little stogie, maybe a transfusion at the turn. Looking forward to it. It's like 70 degrees, like high 60s, low 70s. It's going to be awesome. And loyalty rewards points as well on everything from greens fees to food and beverage. So the Advantage card is certainly something that maybe you can consider. You can go to go to BaltimoreGolfing.com for more details. You can find that link that's included in the show notes below. And I will tell you that there's going to be more where this week's giveaway came from. It was a Father's Day special. And basically what you had to do was click on the link that I had in the pinned comment in the live chat over the last couple of days, fill out some information, and you would be eligible for $350 in credit towards the Fox Hollow Training Center that go towards the club, golf clubs, you name it, and they're going to give you a custom fitting on top of that. Our winner, as I toggle over to the Vault's Gmail inbox, is, let's see, my guy Chris letting me know who it is. It was randomly selected. We had over 50 entries, I believe, if memory serves. And Daniel Geiger, Northeast Maryland's own. Daniel Geiger is the winner of our Father's Day special. Congratulations, Daniel. I want to say Daniel has been trying to get me to golf at his home course for well over a year now. And I feel like I have the invitation that's literally sitting in my email inbox. So I got to go check that out. But Daniel, thank you. And thanks to Baltimore County Golf for the continued support. We're going to have much more coming up next week. Again, go toggle through and check out their site. It's super easy to use. Look at all the different locations that they have for you. Diamond Ridge is another one that I've enjoyed over the years. But Diamond Ridge, Fox Hollow, Greystone, Rocky Point, the Woodlands, that awesome training center. There you have the Advantage card right there that I was talking to you about that you can pop on. They have a college annual pass. Holly, I know you just graduated, but maybe if you're looking to get in the game or any other of our college viewers, you'll check that out. Different instruction, pro tips, club fittings, demo days. They got outings. I mean, you could book your tee time today right here in the upper right-hand corner. So go check it out if you haven't already done so. And continued thanks to Baltimore County Golf for the opportunity to partner up this offseason. Let's get to some super chats that have come in. It looks like the run is on. So Tila got us started as I get ready. Francis will be joining us any minute, by the way. He says he's on his way over from Troy. Of course he is. He could never, ever be on time. It's just, God, he drives me nuts with that. He just doesn't get it. Never been on time once in his life. That's just how it is. Chris M. Happy Father's Day, by the way, Francis. 736 is where Tila got us to. Chris now says, I'm going to match you, sister. And I'm going to get us to 741. Thank you, Chris. 741. And Ash, the ladies are showing up and showing out today. 741. It jumps to 746. Thanks to Ash Marie. So Tila, Chris, and Ash Marie getting the show started with 5 channel membership gifts right off the top. We have 746 channel Voltrons and counting, and something tells me 800 could be in the cards today, especially if Asmodeus, Yojitsu, and Park Heights Prophet show up, which I'll be waiting patiently for. Douglas H. Brown Sr., who is a channel member, says, Happy Father's Day to your father, Bobby. Glad to have the opportunity to see your father. Have a great weekend and keep up the good work. He's going to be popping on the show in just a few minutes, and that's when I'm fully expecting the content, the show, the live chat, if not already, to go off the rails. So just be on the lookout for that. Thank you, Douglas, and happy Father's Day to you if you celebrate. Oh, look at what a nice surprise this is. It's a family affair today. So it's funny. While she's been confused as being this before, she is not my sister. I saw that in the live chat that Bobby's sister became a channel member, and I was confused. No, this is Aunt Karen, Aunt Renner, as I like to call her, New York's best, and somebody that I hold in very, very close regard, high regard. I love her lots. Aunt Ren, you're the best. Thank you for becoming a channel member. We might have to get you to call in during Francis's segment. Why don't you text me if you're up for that, or we can do it on another date. Aunt Ren was responsible for really my early inspiration in broadcasting, by the way, not to get off on too much of a tangent, but Aunt Ren has worked in broadcasting behind the scenes her entire life, and she's the best. Love you, Aunt Ren. And we'll be seeing you in a couple weeks to celebrate a big milestone birthday too, by the way. So Aunt Ren gets us to 747. Kimberly gets us to 748. Thank you both for the channel memberships today. And Mike M with another 5 spot gets us to 753. So we have leapfrogged 750, and we currently sit at 753, only halfway through the show. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Kimberly. Thank you, Aunt Ren. I almost called you Karen. That would be right. Thank you, Ash. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Tila. And thanks to all of you for being here today. Over 600 concurrents right now on this Friday. We're leading into Father's Day weekend, and it's time to get through some OTAs takeaways, courtesy of my friend and friend of the show and BaltimoreRavens.com writer, Clifton Brown. Clifton Brown put together his 15 players who stood out at OTAs, and I'm going to read you what he had to say for each player and then give you some thoughts on the other side. First and foremost, 1 of 15 is Keaton Mitchell, former undrafted rookie. And Cliff says, Mitchell said he was fully recovered from the major knee injury he suffered as a rookie in 23. He made sharp cuts without hesitation and showed breakaway speed when bouncing outside. He also shared, by the way, that he recently clocked in at 22.4 miles an hour. So this idea, and I just saw comments recently from somebody, I can't remember who it was, that sustained an ACL tear. It's an NFL player, and his name just escapes me. But he was adamant that it takes 2 full years to get back. Well, guess what? It'll be 2 full years in December for Keaton. But he'll now have had multiple off seasons, most importantly, to get himself right. And so if there's a player that, sure, from a usage standpoint, given how crowded that backfield is in Baltimore, and given how many other viable options they at least are perceived to have on paper, it would not surprise me if we're feeling like we did in 2023 about Keaton Mitchell this year, which was, wow, every time he touches the football, positive, explosive things happen. But the caveat, we want more of it. I think I could totally see that happening this upcoming season because of what Todd Monken has at his disposal and because of how balanced he needs to be. But the fact that Keaton will remain an option, and if he indeed is healthy and continues to be, just another element of speed and explosiveness for this team. Number 2 of 15 is DeAndre Hopkins, a player that just turned, 33? I believe it was 33. Cliff Brown says Hopkins and Lamar clicked during their only OTA practice. That was in the first session, with Hopkins running precise routes and making several impressive sideline catches. Hopkins' talent and experience made his adjustment to Baltimore's offense look seamless. This is a player that obviously clocked himself at 20 miles an hour at one point early on in this OTA. It's a player that feels like he's got more left to prove. And it's a player that doesn't have a lot to lose at this point. He's a future Hall of Famer, owns the most receiving yards of any active pass catcher league-wide, and the Ravens really risked nothing by bringing him in. I expect him at the floor to be an immediate, as Tilly starts to bark because Francis has just walked in the house, I expect him to be an immediate replacement for Nelson Aguilar, and that's the floor. Can he give more? Remains to be seen. We'll watch it play out, though. And if he can stay healthy, I think in spots, in situational spots, DeAndre Hopkins can use his savvy. He can use his experience. And everything that he brings as a contested catch winning guy, a 50-50 ball winning dominant guy, to still provide timely plays for the Ravens that might need it, who could very well need it come January. Player number 3, I have no idea what Francis is doing upstairs, but he needs to come down here. Player number 3 is Anthony Miller. After catching 4 passes in Baltimore's 2 playoff games while Zay Flowers was sidelined, Miller picked up right where he left off. He made a spectacular diving catch on Tuesday and followed with a strong Wednesday practice. I don't think Anthony has a legitimate chance to make the 53-man roster, but as I kind of jogged my memory on right prior to the show, yeah, he was used in that Buffalo game. He was used in the playoffs with no Zay Flowers. And he's a veteran that they trust and that has some rapport with Lamar. Don't suspect that he'll be a 53-man roster type player, just given what they already have at the position and the rookies and the young players. I should say rookies plural, but the young players that they have that they've drafted in Devontae Walker and Lejante Wester. But it's a player that gives you that depth and I think ends up on the practice squad when all is said and done. This is an ad. And this is the player number 4, Adisa Isaac, outside linebacker. After an injury-plagued rookie season, Isaac reported with a chiseled look after putting in the work to avoid more hamstring issues. Isaac showed a skill set that could add depth to Baltimore's pass rush group this fall. I think this is a player that makes the 53. If I'm a betting man, I don't believe Ajabo. I would view him as the outside looking in at this point, unless he puts forth an unbelievable offseason program, starting with mandatory minicamp and follows it up with a dominant training camp. Adisa is a player out of Penn State. They've gone to that well before, haven't had a ton of success with it. But if it weren't for that nagging hamstring issue, we would have gotten a lot more of a look at this guy's get off, at his speed, at his technique. He's got Chuck Smith at his disposal. I really don't know what else to say aside from I think Adisa is going to make this roster. He's going to be a rotational piece, and it's up to him from there in terms of what else he earns and what else he can showcase. Player number 5, Cliff Brown's takeaways here on BaltimoreRavens.com is Ben Cleveland. Cleveland's competing with Andrew Voorhees for the starting job at left guard, and the coaching staff wants someone to clearly win the job. That's what George Warhop, Ravens offensive line coach, said. There is no more rotation, just in case you missed it. The rotating days are over. That makes it another crucial summer for Cleveland, now in his 5th year with Baltimore. Ben had a disastrous off-field offseason, for sure. Not only the DUI, but an ugly breakup. I shouldn't say breakup, an ugly divorce with his wife. There's been a lot of tabloids and coverage surrounding that. And obviously, he has been allegedly in John Harbaugh's doghouse for years now. This is a player that I feel like can contribute and has contributed in small sample sizes. But how can I sit here and confidently tell you that he's going to go decisively win this job when last year it was Voorhees' job to lose, and he proved that after the summer was over. And if it weren't for an injury, he never would have lost that job, in my book, to Patrick McCary. Player number 6 is Mike Green. We've had a lot of chatter about him over the last week or so. He's the rookie second rounder, led the FBS in sacks at Marshall, had an interception Tuesday after dropping into coverage that we've talked about. He was praised by coaches for his effort and showed his versatility and athleticism. I think I've covered this player enough, but number 45, garnering a lot of attention. the get off, the technique, everything within his arsenal that Chuck Smith was quick to jump on and discuss in detail during his press conference earlier this week. Just how quickly can he make an immediate impact? Will he have a leash on him, or will they let him free? Very curious to see this, particularly given a room that already has a couple established veterans in Odafe Owe and Kyle Van Noy. Player number 7 is that player, the aforementioned Odafe Owe. A more muscular Owe has added 20 pounds since last season, which should help his pass rushing once the pads come on. Coming off a 10-sack campaign, Owe reported to OTAs in great shape and clearly hungry for more. You know how it goes with Odafe. Oh, so close. Can he become a bona fide 15 sack per year type of guy that leaves no room for doubt? Maybe. He's certainly trending towards doing so, and he feels like he's got unfinished business and a whole heck of a lot more to prove. Number 99, big year and a contract year for him upcoming. Player number 8 is Malachi Starks, the first rounder who really has impressed from an intellectual standpoint. Showing leadership both on and off the field, Starks made plays and carried himself like a vet during OTAs. Starks looked very steady, handling the high expectations that come with being a first-round pick. That from Clifton Brown, player number 8. Number 24, looks like he's got leader written all over him. And to me, he seems like one of those guys that's a sponge. He wants to hear and talk to as many folks as he possibly can that know the game and that can help him with this transition. He reeks of high leverage experience coming off his several years and a national championship, by the way, at Georgia. And he's somebody that obviously is now thrust into, speaking of high leverage, there'll be plenty of high leverage reps opportunity, you would think, coming up, being that our Darius Washington is no longer available. And that really puts Malachi in a position where he can be a day one starter and a day one impact guy for this organization and for Zach Orr's defense. We just talked about Lejante. He fielded punts cleanly as he began working to secure the number 1 punt returner role. At wide receiver, he ran crisp routes and showed potential to take his playmaking ability to the NFL level. Okay, kind of in line with what we were discussing. Devontae Walker, another young player, 4th rounder out of the University of North Carolina in 2024. And Cliff writes, he ran decisive routes and gained separation on a regular basis. Walker's obvious improvement made a very talented wide receiver group look even stronger. How do I think the room itself plays out? I think it's pretty obvious off the top. In Zay, Rashad, and DeAndre, that's 3. I think Talon makes this roster as the 4th. Devontae and Lejante, Devontae and Lejante brings you to 6. I think it's pretty obvious. That's your 6, right? Zay, Rashad, D-Hop, Tylen, Devontae, Lejante. I would think that's your 6. Yeah, Dayton Wade flashed during last training camp. Yeah, Anthony Miller was helpful to have in the postseason, but I think that's your top 6. Player number 11, as we get another ad, is Ruben Lowry, undrafted corner, Tennessee, Chattanooga. He had interceptions on back-to-back days last week. He's a long shot to make the 53, but he drew attention with his playmaking. It's a long shot because of how deep and talented the cornerback room is, but then again, you can never have enough corners. See what kind of summer that Ruben can put together. Roquan, 12 of 15. He was at every OTA session, which speaks to his commitment and leadership. Calling out signals and directing his teammates in the middle of the defense, Smith appeared to be setting the table for another All-Pro year. Tough start last year in large part due to Trenton Simpson being his running mate. The underneath pass coverage assignments were problematic. Middle of the field was open season, especially on opening night against Kansas City last September. But once that personnel change was made and Zach Orr went to a rotation with Chris Board and Malik Harrison, Roquan looked back in form, and he went on to, again, enjoy another all-pro season. I suspect that the Roquan of old will be back this upcoming year, and they got to figure out who his running mate will be. Just like they're deciding to do on the other side of the ball, no longer rotating offensively. I would imagine that that's the hope for his running mate at inside linebacker as well, weak side. Player number 13 is Sanusi Kane, second-year player out of Purdue, a seventh-rounder from 2024. And Cliff wrote, Kane had a stellar practice on Tuesday. He made an interception and broke up a pass intended for Isaiah Likely. With the number 3 safety job open, Kane took a step towards claiming it. That's interesting. He flashed on special teams last year. Boy, did he flash. Highly physical guy. Great vision, great body control. He really flashed. Malachi and Kyle obviously are your shoo-ins. But outside of there, yeah, there is a safety number 3 job to be won. You've got Sanusi. Bo Braid just went down with what was described as a minor ankle injury. And I would think, with Ardarius Washington being down for the foreseeable future, that they would attempt to do what they did a year ago and bring in a veteran. Let's just hope it works out better than the Eddie Jackson experience. Player number 14 is TJ Tampa. All eyes will be on the second-year player out of Iowa State, a fourth-rounder from 2024. He was hampered by injuries, as Cliff wrote here, underwent that double sports hernia procedure in training camp. It derailed the beginning of his career, and really, I think he only played 18 defensive snaps last year. But Cliff wrote, Tampa put strong practices together and had an acrobatic interception on Monday. He looked determined to earn more playing time in the cornerback rotation. A lot of folks are high on him. Physical corner, strong, high IQ, and there is absolutely a role to be won, for sure. You feel great about Marlon and Nate, but you want another guy on the outside. You've got Cheeto on paper to be your Brandon Stevens replacement, but he's already been banged up this offseason, as he has in recent years. There's a reason why Tennessee let him go. You don't know what you have in him. So CB3 is absolutely up for grabs in my book. That'll be something to watch this offseason. I should say this summer, particularly if they start to dabble in the Jalen Ramsey trade market, the Jair Alexander free agency market, because that could be some sweepstakes here. And the 15th of 15, Cliff Brown's got Nate Wiggins. He returned 10 pounds heavier after a strong rookie season and was just as sticky in coverage. He had a pick during the second week of OTAs and said his goal was to force at least 10 turnovers. Yeah, he's speaking lofty. 10 turnovers he wants in 2025, does number 2. I don't know if there's a player that I'm more excited about outside of Teddy Buchanan, spoiler alert, than number 2, Nate Wiggins. I think he is primed for a breakout season, a Pro Bowl caliber year, somebody that's going to be going up against top receivers. And despite that underwhelming frame in terms of size and how slender he is, he's got a fearlessness that almost takes that out of the equation. Excited to see number 2 clean up a few of those rookie moments on tape last year, a lot of which were just discipline, concentration. And you got yourself a bona fide Pro Bowler on the outside that's going to run with you stride for stride, that's going to press you, it's going to wear you down over time. Got a never-ending motor. Excited about Nate Wiggins. And at a glance, those are your top 15 takeaways from my guy and friend of the show, Cliff Brown. That brings us back to Super Chats and Gifts. Let's see where Francis is. I would have thought. Come on down, Brody. This guy, man. He says he's going to show up at 12:30. Total no-show. Tilly's about to go ape, though, in the back. You watch this. They got an interesting relationship. Over 600 of you on today's show. And in honor of Father's Day, we'll have Francis join us in just a few minutes here. I don't know what's going on upstairs. But back to Super Chats and gifts. We're at 7:53 thanks to all of you for some Friday generosity. And now Tilly makes her way in with a cameo. And for the first time since a tailgate, I think it was before the Detroit game, maybe? Which game did
Buffalo
you go
Bills
to?
In Buffalo.
Well, yeah, but you didn't. But that one was tough because we had a tough Wi-Fi connectivity that day. What was the home game? What do you got notes for? Look at this.
I got notes,
You got
folks.
notes. Now you get yourself into the frame. Good to see
Hello.
you.
Am I dressed appropriately? You told me I had to change my clothes I told him I had on earlier, folks. You believe that? I wasn't dressed appropriately, he told me, for his show.
Well,
here we go.
You look good. This is nice, actually. I might wear this for my Twilight round today.
Yeah.
Where'd you get this? It's
Golf.
FJ.
It's a golf
which
thing.
is your initials. So,
it's my golf outing. My golf shirt.
well, thanks for coming on.
Absolutely.
Just drove over from Troy. It's my mom's house in Albany. We grew up here.
Delmar.
Full circle. Delmar, New York. So let's get into, before we get into you, and we're getting in there. I know that. The live chat's got, look at how many comments. 489 comments right now. Okay. But that was mostly just because I've been doing my takeaways from OTAs and whatnot. I haven't even had a chance to take a swig of water. So why don't you introduce yourself?
All right, folks. Welcome. I'm happy to be here. Francis Shea, as Bobby likes to call me. All right. Is in the house, ready to dispel some narratives he says about me and others things. I do want to say it's about time I've been on this show in a non-Be More Round Town tailgate situation. It's my first debut in that regard.
Had a great call with them, by the way, yesterday.
Happy to hear that. But I'm telling Femi and Cadre and Zaribek and all those guys out there, the who's who of charm. All right. There's a new guy in town, a new who making my debut in town for the vault. Here I am. Bring it on.
Calling out some of our best guests, most routine guests.
Yeah, because I'm hoping to be a routine guest, folks, and you can make it happen in the chats and the super chats. Bring me back, folks, already. I've only been on a minute, but I want to be on again.
The gifts are flying in. I'm not sure if it's because of your presence or not. Somewhere Kadri's on a golf course because he was going to show up today. And I hope he hears this. But Jang gets us to, we left off with 7:53. And as you're doing your notes, I'm doing it for different reasons because I'm tallying up where we are. So 7:53, Jang now brings us to 7:58. So far we've had multiple 5 gift donations. Jang, Mike, Kimberly and Karen. How about you recognize our newest channel member here on the bottom left?
Karen Trossett.
Oh yeah. I already let them know. We did that earlier on. So
there she is.
So Aunt Rem became a new channel member, which is awesome. And I believe the group chat's going off. I just haven't been able to do both. So 7:53 is where we left off with Mike. Jane gets us to 7:58. Not a fan matches that with another 5, which brings us to 762. Tila gets us to 7:53. Or 760. It's hard to count and do this at the same time. 763 is where we're at. Ash comes in with another 5 on top of that to get us to 768.
What are you trying to get to?
I don't know. Chris, on top of what she's already donated earlier, gets us to 773. And oh my goodness, are you seeing what I'm seeing, Francis? We have never once been donated 20 channel members at the same time, and Sherry has just done so. 9 minutes ago, Sherry Milan just drops a 20 spot in there. We got a new record high in terms of singular donations. BMC's calling you over there. That's hilarious that you have him in your phone as BMC. So that brings us to 793, and I knew that 800 would be in the cards today. We're not there yet, but 793 thanks to Sherry. And Don C says, we really need to clean this spicy chat up before Sunday, Sarah's return. Much love, everyone. Great community. And I'll give you some context on what Don means by that. The last week or so, as I continue to get, everybody's hitting us up today. The last week or so, the chat has been off the rails. There's a lot of side conversations. I think we've got some infidelity going on in there. There's a lot of mingling and dabbling and a lot going on. You have been in the live chat before. You have a message for any of the folks that come at our heads?
Yeah, they've been quiet lately, haven't they? I mean, I I try to find that and try to pick out that and make some comments that they're not giving Bobby his full due or where he belongs in the chat. He's run this Voltron for. I'm not sure about the Voltron, you folks. I mean, we're all Voltrons. I'm not sure about that membership name, but we're living with it. But year 3 is almost in the books, and it's almost to the day where 3 years ago, and Bobby says I talk about this all the time. We're very close to the rail trail here, where he and I spent many a night walking the rail trail trying to figure out what his next step in life was. His girlfriend had just dumped him down in Ocean City. He had made some
tough scene.
PML outspoken on the radio as I'm texting him saying, Bobby, stop talking. He kept talking on air, and he kept talking himself right out of a job is what he did. But
you know what's funny? You got to give a lot more context, because in the YouTube space, as I've told you for years now, a lot of these people don't know about my background. So what you're talking about, only a select few people know.
Be more WBAL, they don't know.
Well, a lot of people don't know that I was fired by the Ravens. I mean, I've spoken about it, but the way we're growing, we're bringing people in from outside of Baltimore that may not listen to radio stations that are Baltimore based.
Quick recap of that.
All right.
It was St. Patty's Day.
By the way, we just absolutely skyrocketed past 800, and 900 is absolutely in the cards right now. Especially if you say 900 right now in 900. 900.
But St. Patty's Day, what year?
St. Patty's Day 2022.
2022. Bobby's on the air, as usual, air with doing the sports gig on BAL. And what's the sister station? Rock.
98 Rock.
98 Rock, right? All his coworkers and his guys he worked with on the radio were all at the eggs and beer and eggs at downtown Baltimore.
Bacon and beer
that Bobby was not invited to.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Bobby didn't like that, and Bobby decided to, go off on the rail on air. All right. As I'm listening and I'm texting him saying, Bobby, your father says stop talking. Stop saying what you're saying. Stop it. You're terrible. This is not going well. You don't sound good. Oh, he kept going, folks. He kept going, talking himself right out of a job. So fast forward a couple months to the rail trail down just down the street here.
That felt good, by the way, in the moment. That felt so good in the moment. And now I look back and it was just airing dirty laundry. It could have showed better emotional intelligence, but because of how underutilized I was there and disgruntled and all those things, I look back and I'm like, do I regret the words that I used? No. Do I regret sharing it publicly? Probably.
Yeah,
so anyway,
he was young and impressionable back then. He was couldn't contain himself that day. But you fast forward to a couple months later, we spent many late afternoons doing some exercises on the rail trail, trying to exercise his demons and figure out what his next step was. And here we are 3 years later with a Vault and the Bobby YouTube channel doing very well. Thanks to all you folks out there.
Yeah,
you're doing great. Everything you guys do for my son and for Sarah is highly appreciated. We love what he's building with you guys with all your support. So, but I'm seeing these gifts come in, gifts and gifts and gifts. How about some leads for some nice ladies though? Where are the leads? Oh, people are giving gifted 150, 10 here, 900 members. You members, don't you have a daughter or a granddaughter that would be great for Bobby? Please. I just tried up at the Ravenswood. You saw that a couple weeks ago.
Oh, they saw it all right on the lifestyle influencing track experiment that I've been doing so far.
I can only do so much, folks. I need your help.
The guy's going up to every local bartender. Doesn't matter what she looks like, what she does for a living, or who she is. He's going right up and trying to pimp me out. King Lee says Happy Father's Day. And he's celebrating 2 months of channel membership as well. So that counts as his super chat.
Excellent, King.
Thanks, King. All right, let's get back to the counting, because that's really what it becomes is a count. So we left off at 793. Thanks to, again, the top donation so far, for those of you who may be willing to match, is Sherry's 20 count donation.
Wow.
20 new Voltrons, courtesy of Sherry. We began today at 731. We're about to surpass 800 right now. King Lee gets us to 798 on top of his super chat. So thank you, King. TGIF, my guy Troy, gets us to 799. And the lucky 800 is Mike M. Appreciate you, Mike. And we are now at a new milestone, guys. Who knows? Depending on where this segment goes, 900 could very well be in the cards. But Mike gets us to 800. King Lee, we had that up on the screen for his Father's Day wishes to you.
Thank you, King.
Heather gets us to 801. DC Pete, thank you, Heather. Heather always is here. DC, how about this? This is always interesting. You have your normal players, right, that you start to recognize. Every once in a while, you get somebody that's dropping in here. You got no clue who they are. DC Pete 379, as far as I know, unless they change their name, has never been in the live chat, has never dropped in a super chat. But today, DC gifts us. So we are now at 80. Oh, son of a, where were we?
802, 803.
Okay, we're now at 8. Are we going to? Yeah, okay. Let's call it 803. Thank you, DC. And I better write that down before I lose my train of thought. How about this? Dre Dog, you're going to love this. You would get along with Dre Dog, I could tell. Dre Dog says, I'd be trying to help him, Pops.
Thank you, Dre. Thanks, Dre.
He's also been on the South Carolina train. He wants me to, which is funny because where do you want to retire?
Hilton Head.
Well,
South
guess
Carolina.
what? Dre Dog lives in South Carolina.
Let's go, Dre.
Columbia, if I'm not mistaken. Isn't that where the university is? I'm pretty sure. That's why he knows the Gamecocks well. Okay. Jang says, tired of slacking, Bobby. LOL. Hi, Mr. Trossett. Appreciate you, Jang. Not a fan says, Pops. And by the way, we will open it up for Q&A for Francis if you'd like to. Not a fan says, Pops, we got a channel member that's been flirting.
He's fumbling it.
Oh, Steve, leave it to you to bring this up. So Steve says, Pops, we got a channel member that's been flirting with Bobby and he's fumbling it. We're trying over here. Come get your man, Mimi. So Mimi Ray is currently living in Minnesota, as we learned yesterday. Yes, I completely I incorrectly deciphered the super chat that she left me, trying to explain that she's originally from Bosnia, which is ironic because my first ever girlfriend in Ellesmere was from Bosnia, Rada. And Mimi is now living in Minnesota, but she's moving to Baltimore in the foreseeable future. And we've been having some back and forth banter. So, you may, who knows?
All right, good.
You may be related to her in the future.
I want to talk about Ellesmere, as a matter of fact. Can we get into some other things?
Show everybody your notes.
You
guys
guys notes about Bobby's
notes.
sister. I think you folks would like to hear more about Bobby. Being it's Father's Day, and he's my oldest of four. I thought, we'd share, and Bobby, as you all already know, he's an open book. His life is an open book on whether it be the Vault or the Bobby Baltimore YouTube channel. We know open books, and I think that you folks have grown to enjoy hearing his open book experiences. But I got a couple for you if people want to hear that.
All right, what you got for us?
Because back here down in the
Gulp,
the downstairs at 8 Wood, where Bobby grew up and still spends a fair amount of time. Brings back some fond memories of him and I down here, our oldest. And we used to have none of you probably believe this at all, but Bobby, up until about 5th grade, was about as shy and Klingon of a kid you could possibly have. I mean, beyond, anybody who've had kids who've been Klingons and shy can appreciate it. But this guy he broke the record. Matter of fact, he broke the record for the most tardiest kid ever to go to his elementary school. All right. He was tardy because he wouldn't go. So for example, you finally get him out of the house, all right, to get to school. And then he'd run around the house. He'd take off, run around the house. You couldn't get him in the car.
I'd lock myself in the bathroom.
Lock himself in the bathroom, or run around the neighborhood. You couldn't catch him. Or once you got him in the van, you couldn't get him out of the van. Well, you drove to school. It was about a 3-minute drive. He'd be stuck in the very back. You could not get him out of the van. So thank God to Mike Valente. Props to Michael Valente, his 5th grade teacher who got him out of this, whatever the heck he was in, from birth to 4th grade, shy Klingon kind of kid. But down this basement, I recollect a couple of stories where we'd be playing, watching videos or whatever, and we had a metal pipe hanging as support, which we don't have anymore, thank God. But so Bobby ran into that a number of times, chasing whatever. All right, I end up hitting my head against it on purpose a few times out of frustration with this kid, because look, I could not go from this room to about 10 feet away to change the laundry without him grabbing my leg or hanging on. Don't go, Dad. He couldn't leave one room to go. He literally could not go from one room to the other without him grabbing your leg. This is as a 2 and 3-year-old, not as an 8-month-old. So total Klingon, total shy guy. Mike Valente, thank you very much, because I don't think you'd have the vault if it wasn't for Mike Valente and breaking you out of whatever that shell you were in up until 5th grade. So that was one story I wanted to share with you about his real youth.
One clarification for the chat. I saw somebody said I've never heard the pronunciate or the phrase 8 Wood, and she spelled it out ATE. That's just a nickname for our home address. That's all it is. Keep going.
All right. I do want, and then again, it's in light of Father's Day and all that, I want to speak in a very positive way about Bobby's youthfulness in high school years. In the Bethlehem High School, one thing I look back and think about how proud I was of him. He was a friend and a relationship guy with everybody at that school, whether it be
it's Father's Day. I'm supposed to be
custodian.
giving you
They want to know about you. They want to know about you more.
doing?
He was as friendly and open and gregarious with everybody from the custodian staff to his teachers to the principals to the special needs kids. He was in there with all four of that group of people, and he embraced them all and got along with everybody. Had a great relationship with everybody in high school, and if he carried that on, he's carried that on in his life up at the 30. And that's why, folks, I think he's a fairly decent catch. People out there, I go back to that topic. I talk about usually after being at the Round Town and having a couple early morning appetizers,
Screwdrivers.
Yeah, screwdrivers. But this is a total sober experience right now, which I'm loving, guys. But yeah, listen, he was great in high school, and everybody he treated everybody as well, and that's at least his as the oldest of four. Also on Father's Day, you appreciate that, having the oldest of your children embrace the idea of being a role model to his younger siblings, helping his younger siblings do right things, make good decisions, and help them along the way, and being a big brother and also a role model. And I appreciate that about him as well here on Father's Day.
This really is taking a turn that I did not expect, because again, it's Father's Day weekend.
Yeah.
So isn't it supposed to go?
I've already told him to get the who's who of the new who's who.
Like here's
the vault.
Good
Bring me
morning.
on.
Good morning football.
Crashing the party.
Thank you for that. Good morning football. In this context they've never gotten before, so I suppose there's meaning behind it. But yesterday, Good Morning Football, which is the NFL Network show, had Allison and John Harbaugh on. Allison is John's only child and is going to law school this fall, by the way, at Loyola Chicago. And she went to do her 5th year, I believe it was, of women's lacrosse at South Florida last year. And she started her career at Notre Dame. That's just all side stuff. But the two of them, in honor of Father's Day, came on, and they were both going back and forth on what each other means. So there you have it.
How about Mr. Coach Harbaugh? Is your daughter available? How about that? Sounds like a great catch for Bobby.
Wouldn't that be just
3 years of law school? No problem. Bobby can wait longer.
Wouldn't that be good? What I do for a living is essentially having to, hopefully fairly, criticize your father, right? I'm sure she would just be thrilled.
She might be
to be involved with somebody that's
how that segment went yesterday.
Involved with the team that has essentially been her life since she literally spoke on NFL Network about how tough it was going to school after a loss. What about like coming home to a guy that has to talk about those losses?
Yeah.
And categorize and
it might work.
So,
surprise.
Anyway, what else you got on your? We have more super chats. Do you have anything else on your chest?
I wanted to make those points about Bobby in particular in the show, and me being on and crashing this party of usually the who's of Charm City sports. So I'm here. I'm not going away, Femi and Cadre. I want you guys. I want a piece of you guys.
Well, in the spirit of it going both ways in a two-way street, being that I have been home for about 3 weeks here, you get a lot of memories that flush back when you do various things around town, at the house, in the neighborhood, you name it. But for me, every time I drive past a ballpark, it's called McGee Park, I get fond memories of something that you basically committed an insane amount of hours and time to, which was youth sports. And I think that we grew our bond through sport. And then everything else was just kind of ran through that, And so this guy coached, I'm going to tell you right now, I'll go to the grave with this one. I made it a lot easier for the 3 youngest. This guy was a fierce competitor as a little league baseball coach.
You learn from that, folks. You get your age and you learn from that. I wouldn't be the same the second time around.
To the point where his assistants would fall in line. Okay, this guy was in his lineup card like Brandon Hyde was to the nth degree. Probably why Brandon was canned, because he was mixing around with the lineup card too much.
False narratives going on here a little bit, folks.
But he loved it. And I will always look back at that with fond memories. There's not a day goes by that goes by that you aren't engaged with what we're doing, what we're building, in my case, what your other kids are up to professionally, travels. Sure, your stomach's been in knots for the last 3 weeks with John being in Asia. By the way, he just crossed the demilitarized zone and stepped foot into North Korea yesterday, but I guess that's no big deal.
Nothing.
But yeah, family has forever been instilled by both what you and Mom made sure to, make your priority one from day one. And I think that's the reason why at this point, life just becomes so much more fun. And in all seriousness, the reason why I keep talking about and harping on my idea of 4 kids has a lot to do with how much fun the last few years has been. Getting to know, in my brother's case, someone who's always been viewed as, the younger kid. When he becomes a peer of yours and there's a 9-year age gap, there's something special about that. And I think we each have that instilled in us, that family's first and foremost, and nothing else really matters outside of that. We're all chasing different things. Tori lives on the other side of the frickin' country. We have siblings in relationships, but at the end of the day, and I think we've seen that in recent weeks with milestones, John graduating, other things in the last couple of years or so, it's been a lot of fun. And I feel like the best is yet to come. And that's my main motivation for having 4 kids. And it might be later in life. At this point, it might be later in life, because I'm becoming more and more selective and picky, as you know, and I'm standing on that.
You want me to tell him about the comment we made at John's graduation that you made and I responded to?
I don't remember, but go ahead.
I do want to tell you a story about Little League and how we ended up, before we had dinner, what Bobby had to accomplish before he got to go eat dinner. But first off, we're at John's graduation at Loyola a couple weeks ago, and he says, "Hey, it's our last of 4. It's been a long haul. It was a big celebration of 12 years in the making there." So, but Bobby says, "Boy, it's going to be our last college graduation for a while." I said, "Yeah, Bobby, if you had a kid tomorrow, let me say an example. If you had a kid tomorrow, which is, you're not even, you don't have a girlfriend, so you're not going to have a kid tomorrow. But if you happen to have a kid tomorrow, right, and he was graduating in 22 years, I'd be 84. All right. So this might be my last college graduation, Bobby. Let me tell you that." So I told him I'd have a little realism there that day. But anyway, we it's been a great run with the 4 graduations, and it was a great celebration in Baltimore a couple of weeks ago. But back to the Little League thing. So,
well, let them know what you're working towards first. June 7th, 2026.
Well, we got Tori's wedding coming up, the next milestone event. So almost a year from now.
I will adopt, by the way, to hopefully get you one more graduation. If I need to, when it's all said and done, I will adopt.
Hey, this was a little bit of a hard charging Little League coach and father. So during Little League season in particular, you'd practice and you'd play in the yard. And anyway, we got a routine where after school, he was home from school, I'd get home from work, and before dinner, we go out and throw in the driveway in the road. Before his mother would yell in for dinner. I said, "Hang on, you have to accomplish a couple things. You have to get a ground ball clean, throw back to the coach. You got to catch a pop fly clean. You got to get a scoop at first base. You got to make a catch across your body. Right? You make a catch out here. So about 5 or 6 throws, right? And you had to make all 5 or 6 in a row before you go to dinner. So Bobby's forte, he wasn't built like it, but he was a first baseman in the making. Believe it or not, he had the best scoop. I used to throw scoops to him in the road, bounced it right in his feet, bounced to the left, bounced to right, and he became pretty solid first baseman. So that was a routine before dinner, and it wouldn't always go smoothly. And his mother might get yelled, "Dinner's ready." It might be 3 or 4 times we get there, but a lot of fun and good memory.
And this guy's claim to fame, having went to Georgetown and almost walked onto the men's basketball team, again, despite his frame,
5'6",
despite the frame, is Trigger Trossett. Trigger Trossett was his Cooperstown High School nickname. And everybody's told me, although he'll never admit to it, apparently he thinks he was a pass first point guard. But every time I meet someone, inevitably, whether it's at funerals, weddings, you name it, just walking around Cooperstown, they say the opposite. No, shoot first point guard. So which one is it?
And I say I had eyes in the back of my head. Point guard first, passing, eyes in the back of my head, shooting second.
And now at this point, you breed what? And you develop what?
Point guard. As I said that my debut in the middle of a Be More Round Town, my first Be More Round Town tailgate. Can't remember who they were playing that day, that night, but I told you folks firsthand. I said I train, I develop point guards. That's what I hope I have some grandkids I can develop, male and female, good solid point guards.
Back to super chats, and we are getting a little bit tight on timing because we want to be respectful to somebody who you made sure and that you connected me with, and that's Brendan Molson. Shout out Brendan, our new editor. He's originally from our town here in the 518, and he is our newest editor, and he and your father ref together, and that's how you guys met. Olu writes, "Man, you are lucky, Bobby. I lost my dad 8 years ago. It was awesome seeing how close you guys are. I have 2 boys, And I have 2 boys, and we are super close as well. Hashtag respect. That makes me think of a moment that Francis and I share. And by the way, it's a term of endearment. I don't always call him Francis. Some people are like, why do you call him that? It's just sort of
your 98 Rock boys.
That's how it goes. We all call each other bro and whatnot. But so basically, this brings me back to a moment that we shared in 2011 with a guy that's really like a fourth son to you and my best friend, like a brother to me. It was our friend Anthony's father, Kenny, who passed to leukemia when we were 16 years old. And his last breaths, we were in the room for.
Yeah.
And ever since then, I don't think I've ever really taken for granted, especially with other things that happen throughout life. And you gain that perspective of how important it, of how important cherishing the time that you do have is. And that's why I kind of turn this full circle, and what his main goal is coming up to June of 2026 is we just want our parents to be around for as much as possible. And so we want to get you maybe minus
he's crazy, folks.
30, 40, 50 pounds for 15, June 2026. 15. We want you to be around.
Speaking of Anthony, Tonton, we call him, he'll be joining Bobby and I for Father's Day. So looking forward to that as well, whether it might be a little bit of golf, a little bit of dinner, a little bit of watching the U.S. Open, hopefully, too. So
yeah, it'll be good. They're absolutely destroying. The field is being destroyed today. Justin Thomas 4-putted for double bogey.
No way.
Yeah, 4-putted. Ivory says, by the way, completely side comment here, Bobby needs to ease up on the divorce preference. You agree?
Divorce preference? What does that mean?
You're not familiar with my divorce preference?
No.
So I went out with a really cool girl in Baltimore last fall. And then within a date or two, she let me know that she was recently divorced. And I thought that at 30 and single, I should not yet, not that she would have been a settled job. I thought she's great. She's going to make somebody really happy. But for me, I want to experience all of those steps with somebody for the first time, each of us the first time.
Yeah.
And so if I'm 40 and single, maybe we reevaluate. But for now, that's where I'm at. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I largely agree with you. I might give that person a first or second date, but I think
and I did.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree with the philosophy. Quite frankly, I think it's a reasonable philosophy, but it might not be. Yeah, age 40, definitely you got to rethink that. At 30, might be probably 50-50, but there's everybody's got circumstances in their lives. You never know what went on and why it went on and who made the mistakes. But that's I wouldn't automatically rule somebody out for that.
All right. Well, on top of that, Ivory said, "Happy Father's Day, Francis, and to all fathers." Ivory Smith II. He's celebrating 1 month of channel membership. Appreciate you, Ivory. Jang says, "Happy Father's Day to all the dads in this community and to my dad in heaven." I certainly echo that, Jang. To your father, my grandfather as well, Papa Tross. And yes, to everybody in our chat, everybody in our community who's celebrating, happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day weekend. Ivory Smith, on top of what he's already dropped in, says, "Going to pay forward the gift I received last month," which is super cool. That's the best part about this whole thing.
Yeah.
And by the way, he didn't just say he's paying it forward. He just dropped a 5 spot in there. I was expecting 1. Yes. 803 brings us to 808 from Ivory, a 5 spot for the main man. IS the second. IS2, if you will. Cameron Walker brings us to 809. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you guys for being here on this Friday. And look who showed up. Mimi Ray drops in. Her ears must have been ringing.
Mimi.
And Mimi brings us to 810.
Mimi, when you're moving to Baltimore, Mimi, let us know, would you? I get down there a fair amount of time.
Oh, are you going to vet her? Is that what you're going to do? Look out, Mimi. Appreciate you for being here and being a good sport with all this nonsense. Draydog679 writes, "Pops, we speak life. You going to be here, no doubt."
That's right.
Meaning when it's all said and done for that graduation.
Your oldest?
Draydog speaking it into existence. And he's a spiritual guy.
Maybe if he adopts a child who's 10 years old. All right. Thank you, Dre Dog.
A few more. Not a fan letting us know what we now know. And that was Bobby Mimi is in the chat. And it's sad that your biceps aren't on display. See me trying to help, Pops?
Thank you.
Write him a note on how to respond. Mo hits us and is a channel member. And thank you to Steve leaning into all this. Mo with $1.99 channel member. Shout out, Mo. Cameron Walker, who's celebrating 1 month of channel membership. You can't yawn on the air.
Sorry, guys.
Cameron says, membership ran out during the stream, so had to renew quick, LOL. Appreciate all the hard work Bobby and Sarah do with the vault. Happy Father's Day. So this is super cool. So Cameron never misses a show. And how I'm viewing this is that he was gifted a channel membership last month.
Yeah.
He now had the decision, as of today, I guess, the choice, I should say, to let that expire or renew the membership. And he chose the latter. So thank you to Cameron. Awesome. He's celebrating 1 month of channel membership and now beyond. DC Pete 379 just throws us another $1. He's the guy that I never seen in here before. And now he shows us more love. I love that. Dre Dog with another one who writes, Pops, we need you here. I went from 260 down to where I'm at now between 180 and 190. Wow. I feel amazing, so I'm rooting for you. You feel comfortable sharing where you're at?
Yeah, 188.
At this current moment?
Yeah.
5'6"?
Yeah.
Where do we want him, Dre? I'm saying 150.
Nothing left of me. Dre, there'd be nothing left of me, Dre, at 150.
And here's the other part, Dre. He wants to, like, fast walk. He wants to do
Dre, I'm
Hill's
stocky,
fast
I'm a
walk.
stocky guy, Dre. 150, I wouldn't look good at 150.
You got great calves. I know that. But the hill walk is just only going to get you so far.
We get your heart break, get your heart running.
Come to Metabolic with me. Going to absolutely bury your ass in there. Mimi Ray says, Happy Father's Day, Papa Trosset.
Hopefully you'll be calling me father-in-law one day, Mimi, if we can make. How old are you, Mimi?
I wasn't sure where you were going with that one.
Hope she call me father-in-law instead of
happy
Mimi.
Father. What's going on in Minnesota this weekend, Mimi? Let's get our patrons in here. We appreciate you guys for being here. Over 600 concurrents. Looking forward to getting Sarah back in the fold next week. Brian Walters and Christian Almgren, thank you both for believing in what we're building. You guys are integral members of our Vault Patreon community, and we appreciate you for all the support that you give us on a monthly basis. This is your monthly shout out. Happy Father's Day to both of you if you celebrate, or perhaps to your fathers. Brian and Christian, appreciate it, guys. Ravens Vault podcast. I should say patreon.com/Ravens Vault podcast is where you can learn more if you're interested in getting involved in the channel. Any closing thoughts from you?
Me? No, I've enjoyed being on it. I've enjoyed this time. A non-be more around town experience. Hope to be a regular, just like Femi and Cadre are. And I'm looking for big things out of Baltimore this year. Ravens. I was at that Buffalo game last year. I was right in the end zone, right near where unfortunately Mark Andrews had that drop go through his hand. So we're at that game. And Bobby got sick for 2 weeks after that. The Buffalo plague, as you called it.
Not to be confused with the Francis plague.
I knew that was coming, which is a truly false narrative, folks. I think the Ravens, they got to make that. They got to get over the hump. I mean, this has got to be the year. And I hope Mark Andrews is back. You have any insight on that? If he's going to be back?
Mark's back. Yeah,
he's definitely back.
Yeah, oh yeah, he's clear. There were trade rumors out there. We got more super chats, by the way, as well. Ivory says he understands the philosophy, but God could have ended that marriage for her to find you. Don't miss your blessing. Just saying, with the shrugging emoji.
Love it.
That's hard for me to counteract right there. I mean, that was
Ivory spot on there.
Yeah,
he is.
Thanks, Ivory. Look, that's the exact reason why I chose to go on the date with her last year. Maybe it wasn't the right fit outside of the divorce side of things. I don't know, but all I know is that it wasn't feeling. The spark. There was a spark, but that spark wasn't on fire.
I mean, you make a decent point. Doing things for the first time. I mean, that's it with each other. That's a reasonable philosophy to have, and then but don't make it 100%, and maybe miss out on that one lucky opportunity. But
thanks, Ivory. Dre Dog 679 says, "Pops, I could see you at 155 to 160. Let's go."
How about 175, Dre Dog?
See, we all want you to be around.
Well, I'll be around
when you're carrying that weight. It's tough on your knees.
Dre, I'm gonna be reffing 10 AU games this weekend between Saturday and Sunday. So I'm getting my exercise, dude.
Oh, I can't even with that because you don't get up and down the floor.
He thinks so.
That's the problem.
I repped a game 2 weeks ago. Boys varsity, AU, high level game. Most of these kids are playing college ball. I had to work hard. I was sweating the whole game. And the best thing about it, the coach, the winning coach naturally, but he said, he's a local college coach, said that was a tough game to ref. You can ref that. You can ref that game. You can ref any game. So I've taken that to the bank and thinking about that. So I can still get up and down. You get the endorphins going, things happen. As you guys know, Bobby talks about my Cooperstown. I was a high school record holder, 100-yard dash, 9.9 back in 1981. So I could move. I can move when the time comes. I can move. I still can move.
What was your 40?
We didn't do 40s back then.
Lejante Wester, who we spoke about off the top of the show today, is one of the draft picks from Colorado.
What did he do?
4.46.
Yeah.
He can move.
My real strength was getting out of the blocks quick. Short legs, all the longer leg guys used to catch me. When I got the real high level races like the states and all that, the race would go off. I go back to get end races ended, and I go back to my block, and the starter would say, "Hey, you must have won that, huh?" I said, "No, I came in 5th out of 6." He goes, "You were leading at the 10-yard mark." I said, "Yeah, I wasn't at the 100-yard mark though."
That was definitely one area that I should have went a little untapped for me at high school. I should have gotten maybe earlier on involved in that. I don't know how we got there, but
I do want to say anybody that 9.9 might have been slightly win-aided too. I mean, we don't admit that very often, but slight win-aided on the timing.
That's good to know. Thanks for being honest. Ivory says, or you to find her, I should say, following up on his previous one that said, understand the philosophy, but God could have ended that marriage for her to find you or you to find her.
Yeah, it keeps coming in. These people want to hear more about football. Let me go. Do you want me to get out of here so you can talk football?
This is it. This is it. We got to go. We got to get Brendan the show so he can make sure to edit what we're doing on the back end. DC Pete 379 again chimes in as a channel member.
What's up?
He says, I've been subscribed. Just finally caught a live show. That's the beauty of it. A lot of people, just based on their day-to-day, can't catch us live. And when they do, they chime in. And we appreciate it, Pete. Thank you for being here. Chuck Lund comes in, gets us to 811. What's going on, Chuck? Franny, fun fact, Chuck wants us to, is trying to put together the inaugural Ravens cruise line. He wants to put together a cruise line coming up next summer. And Sarah and I are planning on, I've already listened to him. And there might be more, so stay tuned.
Might be a great idea.
Families on the house, I believe. So I'm just throwing that out there. Draydog679, who's full of wisdom, by the way. He writes, sometimes people are on the right track, but on the wrong train, Bobby. Be the conductor and guide love into your life, bro. This guy's the man.
I love this guy.
This guy's the man. He's a great dude. Thank you, Dre. We're going to get together someday. I know it. And I'm going to make him smoke a cigar and have an old-fashioned with me somewhere in South Carolina.
Okay.
All right. I think that just about does it. What we need to do is have a little bit of fun for behind the scenes here.
We had to do the draw already.
And you and I, we did that already. I did that for timing purposes, but I'll announce it again. You and I need to smile for the thumbnail. Come on over. Get into the screen.
Give me the thumbnail.
Right at that thing right there.
Where's this going?
Right on the front. There you go.
All right.
Little candid for him. That is that's strictly for Brendan right there. Any final words for you?
No, again,
You got him in.
I got a minute?
No, I said you already got him in. You're in good shape.
I just want to thank everybody. Thank everybody for all the support and love you give Bobby and Sarah and helping him do something he loves to do. Going on 3 years again. And 3 years ago, he didn't know what he was going to do. And here he is 3 years later, really enjoying himself. And you guys, I appreciate everything everybody does for him and how they represent and follow him so closely. So thank you all for that.
It's opened up a lot of opportunity for me, and I only feel like it's just beginning. And like I said, I want to echo that gratitude. And our winner that you were just asking for our Father's Day Baltimore County Golf giveaway, the contest that we ran this week, is Daniel Geiger from Northeast Baltimore. So Daniel gets $350 that can be directly used in credit to the Fox Hollow Training Center in Baltimore County, and that can go towards a clubs, depending on what he needs, plural. A 30-minute session he's going to get on top of that for fitting, custom feel, and all that. So look forward to it. And I don't even know if you know this, have a 3:50 tee time at Capitol Hills today. So that's what's going on here. But without further ado, we're going to go ahead and sign off. If you could, on the way out, please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Hit that notification bell so you can be notified of when we're going live next at 4 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday for the foreseeable future. We have a condensed short-form piece of content that drops. It's 4 o'clock Eastern. It's pre-recorded, and it's repurposed for the best 15 to 20 minutes from our hour-long live stream. Spoiler alert, today's at 4 is this conversation. Brendan Molson, our editor, is going to have that up for you coming up later on. So Thanks to our patrons. Thanks to all of you. Again, we started today, just so everyone's clear, we started at 731, meaning 730 channel Voltrons. We go into the weekend at 811. It's an awesome number. I think Sarah's going to be thrilled. I hope she and her family had a blast. Dre Dog gets us with one more on the way out, says, thank you, Pops, for bringing Bobby into this world. I know my mom is upstairs probably listening to this through the walls because the walls are thin. But yeah, this is it for solo me. It's been a long 10 days, but I think it's been a productive one, and I've really enjoyed it. But I'm also looking forward to getting Sarah back on Monday. So
love Sarah, guys. We love Sarah.
Yeah, she's fantastic. Shoot her a tweet this weekend to wish her well, traveling back from Utah and whatnot. And we will catch up with you on Monday at 12 noon Eastern, if not before. Special thanks to Baltimore County Golf. All of you, we have 46 folks that either gift gave today or dropped in super chats or became channel members, including my aunt, Karen Trossett. So shout out all of you. Have an awesome Father's Day weekend. Enjoy the U.S. Open, and we'll catch up with you on Monday. And as always, Voltrons, thanks for spending some time with us here inside the vault. Later.